The Toronto Mob War, when the Siderno Group turned Canada's quiet streets into a Calabrian killing ground. What if the bloodiest mafia war in Canadian history wasn't fought by Sicilians in flashy suits, but by stone-cold Calabrians who looked like your accountant, spoke perfect English, and buried their enemies in the foundations of the condos you live in? What if the same men who prayed at Sunday Mass in Woodbridge were the ones ordering hits in restaurant parking lots, bombing barbershops, and dumping bodies in the Don Valley, while the RCMP watched helplessly and the public never even noticed? This isn't The Sopranos. This is the Toronto Ndrangheta War of 2008 to 2016, the Siderno Group's silent, savage conquest of the GTA, and the most underreported organized crime apocalypse in North American history. Between 2008 and 2016, over 30 murders, dozens of firebombings, and hundreds of millions in cocaine, extortion, and construction fraud turned the Greater Toronto Area into Canada's Calabria. And the scariest part, they're still here, stronger than ever, and almost nobody knows their names. Chapter 1. The Quiet Men from Siderno. They didn't arrive with machine guns blazing. They arrived with wet suitcases full of cash and scarce passports that said businessman. The Siderno Group, named after the tiny Calabrian town of Siderno on the Ionian Sea, is the North American arm of the Commisso Romolo Ndrangheta, one of the most powerful clans in the global Ndrangheta. These weren't street punks. They were multi-generational dynasties. Fathers, sons, cousins, in-laws, who had been running the Ionian coast since the 1950s. In the 1980s and 1990s, as Italy's Maxi trial and anti-mafia crackdowns made Calabria too hot, they did what any smart family business does. They opened a Canadian branch, Woodbridge, Vaughan Maple. Italian-sounding suburbs north of Toronto became Sacro Little Siderno, and nobody noticed. Chapter 2. The First Shots. A barbershop becomes a battlefield. May 31st, 2008. A quiet Saturday morning in Woodbridge. Carmine Verducci, 52, respected, connected, feared, walks into La Primavera barbershop on Islington Avenue for his weekly shave. He never walks out. Two masked gunmen burst in, firing 12 shots at point-blank range. Verducci collapses in a pool of blood and shaving cream. The killers vanish on a stolen motorcycle. Toronto wakes up to front-page headlines. Mafia hit in broad daylight. But this wasn't random. This was the opening salvo of a war that had been brewing for years. Chapter 3. The $1 million extortion that lit the fuse. The target? Vito Rizzuto, the Teflon Don of Montreal, who had been quietly running Canada's entire Italian mafia since the 1980s. When Rizzuto was imprisoned in the U.S. in 2006, the Siderno Group saw weakness. They moved in on Rizzuto's Ontario lieutenants, demanding a $3 million tax on every major construction project in the GTA. Refuse? Your crane catches fire, your foreman disappears, your family gets a visit from men who speak perfect Calabrian. By 2010, the Siderno Group had taken control of York Region's construction unions, waste hauling, and illegal gambling. They even muscled in on the $13 billion Vaughan Hospital project, extorting millions before a single brick was laid. Chapter 4. The Killing Season, 2010-2016. The war exploded. 2010, Salvatore Collauti, Rizzuto ally, shot 11 times in his car. At 2011, Antonio Macchione, Siderno associate, gunned down outside his wedding. At 2012, Moreno Gallo, old-school Montreal mobster, executed in Acapulco on Siderno orders. In 2013, the infamous Vito Rizzuto dies of natural causes. Lung cancer. But whispers say poison. Toronto's streets became a shooting gallery. Car bombs, drive-bys in coffee shops, bodies in the Humber River. The RCMP's Project OPhoenix later estimated 33 murders directly tied to the war. And the Siderno Group, they didn't just survive, they won. Chapter 5, The Invisible Empire, How They Stay Untouchable in 2025. Fast forward to today, the war is over. The bodies stopped dropping. But the Siderno Group is stronger than ever. They own the construction companies that build half of Toronto's condos, waste hauling firms that control the GTA's garbage, casinos in Niagara and Windsor, sports betting networks worth hundreds of millions. And the police? Project OPhoenix seized $35 million and made a few arrests. But the WAT core leadership is still free, living in $10 million mansions in Kleinberg, driving Lamborghinis with Siderno license plates, sending their kids to private Catholic schools. Because in Canada, the Ndrangheta doesn't hide, they just became the system. If this silent conquest of a G7 country by a Calabrian clan has you questioning everything you thought you knew about quiet Canada, subscribe to Behind the Veil Truths right now. Next week, we go inside the WASH 2025 RCMP raid that finally caught a Siderno boss on tape. And what he said will make your blood run cold. The war never ended, it just went corporate. See you in the shadows.